Well, for those of us who've been hanging around sports in Connecticut for a few years, we're all very, very familiar with Muzzy Field, which is certainly one of the best ballparks and has been for decades in New England. And Doug Malan, who lives in Plantsville, some time ago said, look, it's such a great idea, it's such a good ballpark, I want to write a little bit about it, some terrific stories there, and he's with us on this segment of the program. His book is called Muzzy Field, there it is right there, Tales from a Forgotten Ballpark. Doug, thanks for coming in and being with us on our program. Nice to have you here.
Good morning.
Doug, what motivated you to write this?
I think it's exactly what you said. It was a realization that there are a lot of stories in a ballpark that traces its history back to 1912. And the first and maybe the most well-known is the Babe Ruth story, his appearance in 1919 with the Boston Red Sox. And when I heard someone mention that he had been there with the Red Sox, it compelled me to go to the library, dig out the story, and from there it built.
Did you ever find anybody who was there that day?
I haven't.
No, what did he do? He cranked a couple out of there, didn't he?
He
over
did.
The right field fence, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Now I do meet people who say they've been there,
yeah,
but I'm not too sure they actually were. A lot of people like to attach themselves to these stories,
especially if they're 50 years old today. Right?
Exactly.
What are some of the other stories, Doug? First of all, what did you find? Did you find a lot of people who had some fond and maybe even people not so fond memories if they played there and maybe had a bad experience there with in a football game or a baseball game? You met a lot of people who've certainly been touched by Muzzy Field.
No question about it.
Form. Yeah.
And as you well know, it's a type of ballpark that people have a real personal connection to, whether it was playing there when they were in high school, or maybe they have memories of going there when the Bristol Red Sox were in town. There's a lot of, and it's a small ballpark, so it's very intimate, and people have personal connections. And I've received emails from across the country from people saying, thanks a lot for writing this book. I remember when I used to sneak into the ballpark under the fence to watch some games. So it is one of those ballparks that people really can identify
We used to have an old scoreboard out there in right center field where and I did it because I lived in Bristol at the time, and I would do it, I was probably in 8th grade and did it for high school baseball. I'd put if they got a run in the first inning, you'd put up one run and you'd tack it up there. That's changed a great deal. I always thought, now you talk about the Sox, who are some of the great names that came down there, Doug, played there?
Yeah, in the 1970s, 1973 to 82 is that minor league era. And you had guys like Wade Boggs, Oil Can Boyd, Fred Lynn, Jim Rice, and at the same time, in the Eastern League, you had the Yankees affiliate playing in West Haven. So whoever formed that Yankees-Red Sox rivalry in the major leagues in the 1980s and late 70s most likely passed through Muzzy Field playing for either West Haven or Bristol.
Right, right. I always thought Muzzy Field was probably a better baseball field than it was a football field. I don't know, I always thought that there was probably a little slant to the field, that if you had to go out toward Muzzy Street, so to speak, you may be going slightly down. That could have been a figment of my imagination. How's the book been going?
It's been going well. I've received a lot of great support in terms of people locally that are interested in hearing about the book, and others, a lot of people who said I had no idea that these many people came through or that these certain moments occurred at this field. And it's gone well. I've been very pleased because this, I got to say, Tom, I spent 4 years researching and writing this, and a lot of it was alone, late at night at the kitchen table. And now to be able to share these stories that I've uncovered with people who have a genuine interest in it, it's really fulfilling. So regardless of how many books it sells, just the fact that you can kind of share that knowledge with people is very valuable.
The knowledge you picked up and you're able to share, sure. You talk about the Babe Ruth story. Anything else that sticks out in your mind that when you heard it, you said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that."
1926, the defending champion Pittsburgh Pirates come to town, and the practice in those days, because teams traveled by train, was to stop in some towns like Bristol and play exhibition contests. So the Pirates were traveling east, and they had a couple days off, and they played this exhibition fundraiser game at Muzzy Field. They're the defending world champions. They have 5 future Hall of Famers on their team, including their manager, and they lose to the local semi-pro team that was backed by New Departure Manufacturing.
Is that right?
So in the book, I identify that as the most memorable moment in terms of a game
Wow.
that Muzzy Field has seen. They lose 3-2 to the local semi-pro team.
And of course, the local semi-pro team was no slouch, but they weren't Major League Baseball. I don't know who was on that particular team. First of all, they must have had a darn good pitcher.
Absolutely. They had very strong pitching, and it was set up in a way that New Departure believed in the athletics that it offered its workers, because all these guys also had a job at the plant.
Right.
They would hire them with a factory job, but also with the understanding that they came with some minor league or major league experience.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of guys on that team that actually played in the majors, Swat McCabe and Les Lanning.
Right. Excellent ball players, too. Doug, you know, in terms of today, I mean, it's still a host for the American Legion regionals. I know they kind of move that around a little bit, state championships and so forth. I guess high school baseball championship games are played there. So it's still today, you know, a host for some very important ball games.
No question about it. And I think that's one of it adds depth in that you can go to this field. The layout of the field has changed very little from 1912.
Exactly.
You can go there today and you can see where all of this happened. All the stories in this book, you can see where that played out.
Yeah.
And this isn't, you know, a field we talk about in the past tense. We haven't lost it to development. It's very active, 3 seasons out of the year. The football season, you've got a game there every Friday night.
Right.
And I think that gives this field a different feeling for the spectator. Once you read these stories and go there and say, wow, this is where it all happened.
I always thought when I was a young kid and I walked in there, just going through the portal and walking, you know, up that ramp as soon as you got through, and then you looked out and saw a ballpark. It's almost like going to a major league game, really, because the field was always in great shape. I mean, the people really took care of the field, and you got a lot of great stories in there, Doug, and I congratulate you certainly for writing it. It's Muzzy Field, and like I said before, you can get it where, Doug? It's all over, right? I mean,
Yeah, you can get it
pick
at Barnes & Noble. You can get it anywhere online. It's in wide circulation at this point.
Not a bad gift for the holidays either. You
That's
know,
right, a little stocking
something,
stuffer.
You got anything else you want to write about down the road, or is this it for you?
No, I have several ideas I'm
Do you
working
really?
on. Nothing has really formed to the point to talk about, but I've got some other irons in the fire.
Hey, good luck with everything.
Thank you, Tom.
Stay in touch. Doug Malan, author of Muzzy Field, Tales from a Forgotten Ballpark. I'm Tom Monahan. Thanks for joining us. See you next week on Connecticut Newsmakers.